This has always been the sticking point. We've been so hung up on specifics, F-16s, ATACMs, tanks, Patriots, and on and on. Don't get me wrong, each of these is vital, but there isn't just one magic weapon that flips the whole situation. It's more about the cumulative effect of a mix of weapons when used right. That's why I always say it's not about individual weapons, it's about capabilities. What does Ukraine really need to clinch a win? Think about it. How does Ukraine secure a victory? The answer is clear: by taking back Crimea. And what's needed for that? You need forces that can effectively surround Crimea, sever their land connections, and make it simply unviable for Russian troops to stay. The Black Sea Fleet shouldn't be able to anchor in Sevastopol. The Russian Air Force shouldn't feel comfortable in Saki. And their logistics, they shouldn't find a foothold in Genoa. And for that to happen, you need weapons that can strike from a distance, hitting Sevastopol, Saki day in, day out until they realize they have to pull back. I remember hearing General Kavi say, not too long ago, that precision, if applied right, can topple sheer numbers. That's Russia's game, sheer mass. That's all they've got, and they seem to be quite okay with their men falling. So, to counter that, you've got to neutralize the mass, target their command, dismantle their logistics, decimate their artillery. It's about long-range precision firepower. Whether it's an attack mess, Taurus, Storm Shadow, Grey Eagle drone, or heck, even ground-launched munitions. The point is, you need that firepower, that capability to keep hitting the right spots. And if you've got enough of that firepower, the Russians will have to think twice about staying. Honestly, I genuinely feel this could all wrap up by next year if the U.S. steps up in the right way. Look, Putin, he's going to keep pushing until it dawns on him that he's on the losing side. The moment he thinks, I've lost or I'm losing ground, he'll pivot. He's going to change his tune, shift his narrative. But getting him to that realization, that's the key. So, the way to make Putin genuinely understand he's on the losing end is when a multitude of countries, let's say 50 nations, including big players like the US, Germany, the UK, and France, loudly proclaim, hey, we're backing Ukraine. We're betting on Ukraine to win. That's the policy. When he hears this, when he sees that kind of united front, it's going to shake him. But the current picture he's getting, he probably feels we're not truly behind Ukraine, so he's just clinging on. Now, of course, the nuclear issue, that's a big concern. They're sitting on a vast stockpile of nuclear arms, but you've got to consider Putin's mindset. Does he care about his own people dying? Doesn't seem like it. So why would he go nuclear? I genuinely don't think he'd go down that road. What's in it for Russia? Zero. If they launch a nuclear weapon, Ukraine won't back down. Even my own president has said that any nuclear aggression would bring disastrous repercussions on Russia. And I genuinely believe they take that warning seriously. President Xi, he's made it clear too. Don't even think about nuclear. And if you think about the folks around Putin, many must be pondering, he's in his 70s. What's our life going to be like post-Putin? I really doubt everyone in the corridors of Moscow or St. Petersburg is rallying behind the idea of a nuclear strike. And remember, we're mainly talking about the tactical nukes here, not the strategic ones. Using those requires a whole chain of command to act in sync. And trust me, we'd catch wind of it if they started that process. To me, the Russians, their nukes, they're almost like a bluff. They're scarier when they're not being used, causing us to second guess our moves. So even if Putin went off the rails thinking, I'm getting old, let's go out with a bang, there'd be voices of reason to pull him back. There has to be. And here's what we should be focusing on: the enablers around him. We're aware of them. We know the ones propping him up. Ukrainians, they're sharp. They probably have a good idea of who's pulling the strings behind Putin, right? Those people, their faces should be plastered on every newspaper, billboard, all over the place, telling them, look, we're watching. We know what you're doing. And once all this mess settles down, they'll have a choice. Either stop supporting Putin or maybe find themselves in a courtroom, like those Nuremberg trials, facing the music. Nobody should feel like they're above consequences, especially not when they're backing Putin in all this madness.
Let's talk about NATO shortly. I would say that we have lost in Vilnius. Unfortunately, the invitation could be provided, but it wasn't. They believe that it is possible to have an invitation of Ukraine to join NATO, or let's say, a Washington submit.
As for the NATO issue in Ukraine, I genuinely believe it's possible for Ukraine to get an invitation, heck, maybe even a green light from Washington. It feels to me more achievable now than, let's say, a year ago. You sense it, right? The tone, the discussions, they've evolved. The vibe I got at Vilnius, even though Ukraine didn't get that NATO invite we were hoping for, it felt like we've crossed some mental barrier. It's as if we've made some emotional and intellectual progress on the matter. Now, the task is about differentiating between just getting an invitation and the whole accession process. I remember in Vilnius, there was all this chatter about Ukraine getting a NATO invite would mean immediate war. But come on, that's not a given. I think some of that fear was stoked by our own American national security folks. We need to get our messaging straight. Take Sweden, for instance. They got their NATO invitation, 18 months ago? And they're still in the process. They're a testament that an invite doesn't mean immediate entry. And that sends a clear message, not just to Ukraine, but to Russia too. Hey, you don't get to dictate the terms. From there, we can then focus on the nitty-gritty of the accession process.
Some people say that even if, or not if, but when Ukraine wins for frozen out of states, maybe it's not the best option to provide Ukraine with finally membership, because that means that if Russia attacks again, the U.S. should step in.
Yeah, we've been prepared to do that since 1949 when any member was attacked. So the best way to make sure Russia doesn't attack is for Ukraine to be in NATO. I think Russia, as terrible as they are, they do not want to commit suicide, which would be an attack on NATO. That would be suicide for them. So I think my country needs to get behind this. This will improve security and stability in Europe much better than what it is now by having Russia see that. Because of what they've done, they now have NATO from Finland to Turkey, all the way, and in the Black Sea, that we need to have a strategy for the Black Sea region. Stop talking about Ukraine like it's an island, but instead talk about Ukraine as part of a region that is strategically important for the West, and Ukraine being a member of NATO, Ukraine, Romania, Bulgaria, Turkey, and then who knows, Moldova and Georgia, at least inside the EU. That would change the security dynamic historically and for generations.
And do you believe that it will happen?
Yes.
In this conversation, General Hodges offered insights grounded in geopolitical analysis, with a particular focus on Ukraine, Russia, and NATO. Here's a brief rundown of the key takeaways from his dialogue: the priority of capabilities. While Benz acknowledges the significance of specific equipment like the F-16s, tanks, and Patriots, he emphasizes the collective impact of diverse armaments. It's the combined capabilities rather than isolated weapons that he highlights. For Hodges, Ukraine's ultimate goal is the liberation of Crimea. Achieving this means ensuring that Russian forces cannot feasibly maintain their presence, which in turn demands targeted strategic actions. Hodges points out that Russia's primary strength is its vast forces. However, precision weaponry can neutralize this advantage by targeting vital Russian infrastructure, such as logistics and command centers. For this, he advocates for long-range precision weaponry. In essence, General Hodges provides a comprehensive look at the contemporary geopolitical arena, underscoring the pivotal role of cohesive international support for Ukraine, the relevance of holistic military capabilities, and the game-changing potential of Ukraine's possible NATO membership.
If you like our today's video, please make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel and comment subscribed. I'll make sure to leave a reply to each one of my viewers. Thanks for watching this video.